Good afternoon, Final Fantasy fans. This is Space Drake, and I am joined in the booth by Falconic, and you are watching the Final Fantasy Randomizer Chaos Comedy Tour on SpeedGaming 2.
Hello and welcome, everyone. It's been quite a while since I jumped into the commentator's booth here, but I had to do it. Willcleosis is up to the starting plate here. He's facing off against Serisan. They are in the ever so important Vocal Pod. Space Drake, this is our first time commentating together.
It is, and this is the first time you have been in the booth, Falconix, since the rather famous race that Willcleosis was in that featured very, very, very deadly green Medusas.
Green Medusas of Death. I remember it very, very fondly. Watched it again about a couple weeks ago. That was me and Dark Moon's maiden voyage. So who knows? I didn't roll this one here tonight, but hopefully we see something. I think Dang will roll this one. We'll see something coming out a little bit nasty here. Just to kind of go over this real quick. Willcleosis, Serisan, part of the Vocal Pod, something you're very, very familiar with. Is that correct, Space Drake?
Yes, because I am also part of the Vocal Pod, and unlike Will, when he was commentating my match, I do not mind at all in saying that, yes, I'm here to totally scout him out.
Speaking of scouting, I talked to both of them before the match. Serisan said doesn't really scout out too much, but he did catch the match between Will and Dark Moon. Will did the same. He watched the Dark Moon match between him and Serisan. Dark Moon, of course, getting the better of both of them. Actually, no, I'm sorry, losing to both of them, if I remember correctly.
Yep. I was the only one who Dark Moon managed to beat, because I forgot to check the spells at Melvin.
Well, that'll happen. So we should be getting started here momentarily. The runners, of course, are running on a 10-minute delay. Started about 10 minutes ago, so we get started up here. Talk to me about these parties here. Serisan running Black Belt Rainbow, and you've got Will running his infamous two-man strats. What's it going to take for Serisan to win? What's it going to take for Will to win?
Well, it's also worth pointing out that Will has done this mostly because he saw the blurses on the fighter and the red mage and started drooling, because fighters in this seed have black belt vitalities. So that fighter, once it gets even a couple levels on it, is going to be absolutely made of beef. And the red mage, meanwhile, has thief luck, so it is going to be able to run incredibly well. And also, we are out of the gate, and we're coming up with not very much at all in the white magic except for life, and then pretty much just quad X in the black magic.
So that's kind of 50-50 for Will. Life, that's going to be night learnable, is a huge find for him. However, on a two-man party, you really need to hit the gates running. No sweepers in level 1 feels really, really bad. The quad X is going to do very well against Garland here coming up, but he's got no real way of winning some early fights to get himself a little bit of momentum. So I would expect to see Serisan gain a pretty good lead here at the start.
Yeah, and meanwhile, we were asking about the party comps. So Serisan, meanwhile, saw the red mage thief luck, and of course wanted to get in on that, but is still banking on that the consistency of the leveling the black belt, rather than hoping to dig something out of a chest for that fighter and relying on the potentially faster but maybe not two-man fighter red mage strats. Okay, and Will going and cleaning up his spell list a bit more now that he actually has some money.
So it feels pretty good seeing 53 gil cabins right off the start there. A little bit more health than the 10's going to give you. Still doesn't give you magic regen like a house, but 53 gil's definitely on the cheaper side for something that's going to give you potentially a good saver of heal potions along the way.
Mm-hmm. And also just extremely early access to encounter manipulation, as I can see that Will is already trying to figure out the encounter table with that one encounter there right at the start.
So
meanwhile, level 2 magic.
Yep. Level 2 Invis 2 feels pretty good. I know Will's going to be seeking out that defense sword pretty early, fast and Brack.
All right.
Now we're starting to get into some sweeper spells.
And more to the point, that early fast is going to work very well for Willcleosis. That's really what you want to see when you have a fighter.
Happy to see that fast. I think right now he's more happy to see that fire too, especially with this pirate fight coming up.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Serisan took very slightly longer to get out of Canaria and was checking the chests in Temple of Fiends, but is now pretty much right on Will's heels, and I would actually imagine that, well, no, he's going to check magic as well.
Let's go do a little bit of shopping first. Will does pull up the pirate fight, doesn't like what he sees in the first round, resets out, goes right back in, a little bit better turn order this time. The Fire 2 goes out and does wipe out the entire pirates.
Yep.
So the Bicky versus Bicky clash is over. We're going to see what he gives us now.
A tail.
Good for later.
Will kind of wants to see that because there's a decent chance that he's going to need to promote in order to use the best weapons for that fighter.
Oh, it's the Vorpal Pod. He's promoting for sure. There's no doubt about it. That Will, unless this is a floaterless seed, and he can just put the pedal to the metal, this is going to be a seed where he clash promotes.
And another bit of good fortune there for Willcleosis, the chain armor has rolled up +3, which means that both his fighter and his red mage are almost basically wearing iron armor level chest armor that has almost no evasion penalty.
That's pretty good. Something he definitely wants to see. On Serisan's side, though, feels good to get the 5% XP boost from the tail. I don't know that he quite wants to see that this early, though.
No, he almost certainly would have preferred to see something with actual progression on it.
Alright, so both runners decided to make the pretty obvious play to check out the Matoya Provoca area first. Again, with this spring tournament having a free canoe, the western side of the inner sea tends to open up a little bit more. You could go east if you want, wrap around to the ice cave and to the volcano. However, that's far more treacherous, so you tend to see runners make this dive first. So now Will's going to make his way over to Matoya, and then more likely over to the Dwarf Cave and make his way down to Northwest Castle.
Mm-hmm. Finding a light axe -5, which is something you don't always like to see on a fighter seed, but
I think he's not going to mind that.
But it's the light axe can be a sort of decent, maybe early weapon if it rolls up, but it's still, of course, very useful for its harm 2 property, even if it rolls low.
Especially in seeds like we've been seeing lately, where Marsh Cave tends to be one of the dips that people make early. Having that light axe just helps on a little bit more of those fights there, especially if you can put that on the fighter and pair it with the Fire 2 and the Red Mage, so now both characters have something to do that can sweep.
Indeed. Well, Will making a pit stop in Canaria to pick up a few more items with all that cash he found. And we didn't comment on it a little bit earlier, but on the King and Sarah, we had the ship, of course, and the slab, which could also, once again, be useful later on, but right now is not of terribly much use to us, although finding the slab and the tail this early actually does tell us a few things. First of all, it means that our progression, if it's not right here at Crescent Lake, basically has to be in both Marsh and in the Ice Cave, which is something I think a number of runners, beyond even just like Will and Serisan here, don't really like seeing quite this early.
It's possible. This is also a seed rolled by Dangwu, which tells me that in Ice Cave is going to be the floater, and it's just going to open up the game tremendously. We're going to be flying probably within, depending on who makes the dive there, probably within 25-30 minutes of the seed.
And we have a little bit of route divergence now, with Will heading to Crescent Lake, while we are seeing a spell check here in Elfland by Serisan. Will finding some X beads. And Life 2 is Red Mage learnable in Elfland.
It's also Night learnable.
That is a big deal for Will. That's going to give him a lot of safety. especially when he promotes. Okay,
Yeah, later on in Topher, when you're putting that red mage in the top slot trying to keep that knight alive, to be able to have that knight bring that red mage back after Kraken 2 is going to be tremendous.
Yeah. Okay, and here's another big deal. Temper is indeed red mage learnable at level 4, so that's basically everything you want to see spell-wise for a fighter party in terms of spells. You've got the fast, you've got the temper, you've got the light.
That is the canal from the old men over in Crescent Lake. So now the Inner Sea opens up. Now we can move our way out and check out Earth Cave. Will, last year, the past couple of years actually, Will is a very strong proponent of checking Earth Cave early. It's not incentivized in these flags. Doesn't mean that he can't find good armor there.
Yeah.
Maybe a weapon.
Meanwhile, Serisan hasn't quite found that yet and is going straight for Marsh. I actually don't hate this play, though, because we have opened up the Inner Sea thanks to the old men. But that does mean that a whole bunch of our early progression now has to be either in Waterfall or Deals, or the only other two unlocked dungeons are Marsh and Ice.
Yeah, with Ordeals, with Ice Cave, you definitely would prefer to have Warp and Exit. I don't think, unless I'm mistaken, I don't think we've seen either of those yet. So right now, Will's doing the only sensible thing I think that's on the table. Get some levels. You got a two-man party. The whole idea of this is to take levels along the way, but right now he needs just a little bit to get him over that hump.
And actually,
Serisan going through Marsh Cave. Marsh Cave's fine with 4-mage party or 4-draft party, but Will probably doesn't want to dip his toes in there yet.
Yeah. And also, I actually rather like this this grind that Willcleosis is doing. Well, okay, I don't like the double trancing giants quite so much, but especially when only like one comes up, that's a good thing to take with Quad X there. Yeah, those
Quad
giants roll
hold
and trance. That's not entirely what you want to see from anything, just because of the sheer annoyance factor.
Picking up quite a bit of money. Of course, Serisan with the mage party is the one that needs money more than anybody. But Willcleosis, if he's able to get out of this, I think the levels are really what he's going for. The money's going to be nice. He'll be able to pick up spells for the mage as he goes, but this is more for XP.
Okay. Meanwhile, Serisan using reset strats to check the chests in Marsh a little bit faster. Despite seeing the house and a bit of money, didn't really feel like trying to drag that out, and I don't blame him too much, especially with a complete lack of warp.
I'm not a fan of, in this flag set anyways, not a fan of checking top of Marsh first, because on the floor that Serisan's on now, there's 2 chests that are linked to top of Marsh. I know it's a 50-50 chance, but the odds are in your favor to go south, check the chest, get your key item. And I know some people argue that if you go top and the key item happens to land there, you can leave without doing bottom, but it just doesn't work out mathematically that way 100% of the time. So I would prefer to go south here, but I've seen a lot of runners going north.
Yeah. On the flip side, though, it does always feel really, really, really bad when you do get trolled on that topside chest. However, Serisan does not, and it turns out that was in fact down here.
Serisan picks up the bottle in the linked chest that's linked to the top left room of this floor here. Could have gotten it right away.
Yep.
Oh no! Runs into a giant with trance, but does get the Quad X out.
Yeah. Probably not a grind tile that Serisan is looking for here.
I don't know.
I'm completely wrong.
There's whole as soon as he sees trance, he's going to back out of this. But again, he's down in Marsh. He's probably just going to use up those Quad X charges and then get out. This is a really good check for just a couple quick levels, maybe 2 to 3, and then get out.
Meanwhile, Will sees that life 2 and probably freaks out very slightly on realizing what all is available here in Elfland. Yep. Lit 2 zap and gonna pick up that life 2.
Trenton points out in chat, one of the kind of the stranger flags for the spring tournament this year is the tri-state flag that we have set for trap tiles. Could be A side, could be B side. What that means, A side, is we take the trap tiles within the game and we just shuffle them around. B-side is not only do we shuffle them around, but they could be the B-side of tiles that you don't normally see in the game. So instead of one eye, you could see 3 eyes, the third eye grind tile. It looks tonight that we do have the A-side tiles, however.
Yes, we do. So there will not be any 3-eye grinds, which is going to be a little unfortunate for Serisan, for example, because that means we are dealing with the game's standard grind tiles. So he's looking for things like big Agama packs, or even just like the solo eye.
Will gets the bad news that all that money he earned up outside Crescent Lake could have been put to better use buying that TNT here in Elfland. However, he's about 10k short. So now he knows where that TNT is. Could possibly be the floater. It could be something not necessary just yet, like the loot. Something that's just going to give us a nice 5% boost, but not really progress us into the story here. So Willcleosis is breaking out of the Undersea. Something Serisan can't do yet, because Serisan hasn't gone to Crescent Lake. So we'll see where Will's able to take this.
Serisan taking this fight with the wolves here on his way back to Elfland. I don't like this too much, especially given that those wolves apparently like spitting fire.
It's a smart reset. He knew he wasn't going to get out of it.
Yep.
All right, so Will's buying up a little bit of armor here. He does find the Iron 3s. Again, we talked about the Chain 3 earlier. What's better than a Chain 3? How about an Iron 3 for that fighter?
Yep, and also blessed helmet and silver helmet and gauntlets. That is actually a pretty well-armored fighter at this point.
So he does translate the slab.
Coming up mostly bingos on the weapons, though. Saber plus 5 isn't bad. It actually has quite a bit of crit. But you're still looking for something with a little bit more oomph to it. You definitely don't want to take a saber, even at plus 5, in the Temple of Fiends. Ooh, and Will finds Warp at level 5, and that is Red Mage learnable.
And that's the downside to Will's party, though, is that he's already checked the first 4 levels of magic, and while it has been fruitful, we didn't see every spell we wanted to see. We just saw Warp there at 5. I'm a little bit surprised. I talked to Will and Serisan before this race, and Will, of course, he studied Serisan. He knows exactly what he's going to do. Predicted the Black Belt party, which, of course, we ended up seeing come true. Will said that his practices this week have kind of scared him off from doing the 2-man party. I would imagine that the blessings he saw from the classes before the race started kind of nudged him back to the 2-man party, but the Black Mage had plus 40 vitality. So had he brought a Black Mage, it would have had tremendous health growth. I'm a little bit surprised to see he didn't pick that up. Dan it at the start if he didn't care for it, but as the magic starts kind of laying out, as we see Warp at level 5, maybe it would have been good to have a Black Mage here that was already into the 200 HP level.
Yeah, but on the other hand, I also know that Will has been maybe not like intimidated by his upcoming matches, but certainly is not taking the rest of Vorpal Pod like lightly. And so he knows that if he like concedes an inch of ground to Serisan is going to do everything possible to turn that into a mile. And also, it looks like we lost Willcleosis there in Restream for a second, but
he threw a smoke bomb down. He wanted to hide the fact that he just found the Vorpal sword, and it's a plus 3. That's exactly what he wanted to see. And he's trying to equip it. He's doing his best, but he just can't as a lowly fighter. Got to become a nice businessman.
Pretty good. This is a really, really good grind tile for him with a light axe and a fire 2. Oh yeah, he's gonna sit on down and get some levels right here.
I wouldn't expect him to sit too long, though, because the entire point of a 2-man party is to get levels along the way. Stopping to do a grind is the wrong way to play a 2-man. He's already stopped a little bit to get over the hump, and he did very well outside of Crescent Lake. Now you just go. You just play the game, and it naturally gives you those levels that Serisan's going to have to stop and get.
Yeah. However, he will certainly take an additional 4 levels.
Yeah. We called it earlier. I told you, Willcleosis loves that Earth play. And in a non-incentive dungeon, you would expect to see that later on in the seed. But he has this feeling. He talks about it every time. when he starts up a seed, his mind goes, it points to one location. This is going to be a marsh seed. This is going to be an earth seed. And earth is almost always his favorite, and it pays off. He can't use the sword yet, but he's got it. He feels better. He's got that confidence about him. The second he gets that airship, I mean, he's off to the races. He's got a knight that's going to be swinging a +3 Vorpal with levels. It's over. It's game over.
Well, let's not entirely count Serisan out just yet, but yes, this is a pretty commanding position for Will to be in. And there's another angle to the Earth play that I can absolutely see. Thanks to the Hall of Giants, there is something like 3 or I think maybe 4 spike tiles up here on this first floor alone. And so that's a good spot to find a quick grind if you think you absolutely need it.
I'm surprised to see him going back to this. It looks like he's just going to expend his spell charges and then move on.
Yeah. Well, he's also
Serisan,
checking each chest, and he knows that this incredibly tasty mummy tile is in front of almost everything on this first floor. So he's mostly just doing this in order to get a little bit of extra loot and to get the few levels he's going to need to get over any possible hump. And I think he's there right now. He's specifically looking for at least 1 charge of warp before he goes into ordeals. Meanwhile, Serisan is throwing all caution to the wind and is challenging those pillars and those zombies.
Down goes Will's fighter here. Fire 2 is going to take out the shadows, but now it's going to be a trek back to get him rezzed up. And unfortunately, our closest town doesn't have a cleric, so we can't bring those party members up. So he's got to go all the way back to Canary to bring that person up.
Well, he wants to go back to Elfland anyway to pick up some TNT and help a dwarf blow something up.
So here's the warp pickup. He's going to have a charge, maybe 2. He's going to res up in Canary. He's going to pick up the TNT. We're going to see what the TNT turns into. But Saracen...
Oh, well, he might not be picking up that TNT, actually, because he also picked up Harm 4. Meanwhile, Saracen running into a giant spike tile again, picking up 5k from the guarded chest. And he's continuing to hack his way through the pillar maze the hard way.
Where is Will go? Oh, is he going to res in...
Is he going to res in Onrak? I believe he is, because he's basically got the encounterment on the sea at this point.
Well, he's safe scumming, so there's no danger in this.
I like this play. It's that there's resing in the position that you want to go to, and you've got the encounter table pretty much down at this point. So you might as well just do the resing on the way. There's no reason to make the side trip, especially when you're not interested in checking the TNT just yet.
Well, yeah, when he purchased Warp, he kind of priced himself out, and Will Bloodworth points this out in chat. He priced himself out of buying the TNT, so it kind of forced his hand. He now can no longer go to Elfland to get that. He's going to go to
Gamer pointing out that
he's going to do Waterfall.
That he'll have to double dip this area, but that's more or less true anyway. That's another thing I was talking about when it comes to finding all those non-key items a bit earlier. When you find so much fetch or optional stuff like this early, you know that you almost certainly have a double dip in your futures somewhere, because you're going to have to check Waterfall, you're going to have to check Ice Cave. And both of these runners are trying to avoid Ice Cave like the plague, which I'm actually not as sure I agree with, especially given those Blaze Mancats, which just wiped Serisan out of ordeals entirely.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. He was steps away from closing that out here. Willcleosis, though, I don't think he cares so much about the double dip. I think all that was in his mind was, I'm not going to do ordeals, I'm not going to do Waterfall, I'm not going to do Ice Cave until I have Warp. He made sure he has Warp. Now it's time to kind of step on the gas and do those locations. He's doing Waterfall now. He will be able to work out Saracen. diving back through to Ordeals. We did find the Dragon Armor, which is great for money for him. Will's going to want that possibly for his knight later on. We'll see what Serisan picks up here. I think if Serisan can pick up the floater here and take that back, then all the time that Will's made up, despite the wipes from Serisan there, is going to be kind of a moot point. I think he's going to be able to catch up, no problem.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we find the crystal here in the waterfall, and we're about to see what the Ordeals play has for Serisan.
It's also a Sun +1 that Will just picked up there in Waterfall.
Yep.
That can be swung by that fighter, so he's got a little bit more firepower now.
Mm-hmm. You always like seeing that, and we found a latte here in the Ordeals cave. So that means that we can bribe the Titan with some artisanal coffee.
Yeah, it's possible we're still holding out hope that maybe Sarda is the one that has the floater, so that Ruby is going to get put to use for Serisan. Whether or not it pays off, we'll find out a little bit later. If it doesn't, Ordeals is a blessed for him, because that Dragon Armor was about the only thing of importance that we found, and he's only going to be able to sell that.
Yep, and Will is about to discover that himself, and then it's going to be nothing but fetch quest o'clock as we return to the inner sea to start turning all this stuff in.
A little bit of a high five there from both the runners as Will makes his way into Ordeals. Serisan's out now. Where does Serisan go? Serisan does not have warp. Does not.
Serisan going to check that Ruby immediately. I'm not sure how much I like that. I made a somewhat similar.
It's a smart move.
I made a somewhat similar play when, I did make a similar play in my own race against Serisan when I turned in an Adamant. But on the other hand, at this point, you hopefully have the encounter manipulation mostly tied down, and more to the point, Waterfall was right there.
Yeah, again, though, you really, really, really don't want to do Waterfall until you have Warp. You can, sure, you can walk it out, but that dungeon becomes, technically, twice as long. Will made sure he had Warp, and he was able to get out. Will's also able to use Warp here in Ordeals to make things a little bit quicker. So you can start to see the plans kind of laying themselves out, where one runner knew I wanted to have a spell in particular if I could get it, and when he saw that it was available, he made sure that he could get that spell and put it to use. Serisan, he's playing his own game, and I talked to him before this too. I said, is there anything that you're planning, any strategy you have that you're going to bring to the table? And he said, unfortunately, with the spring tournament flags, there's just not a way that you can be sure of anything. So he's just going to play his own game, and it looks like that's what he's going to do. If Sarda gives this floater or gives him anything that gives him any kind of progression, that's a leg up on Will that Will's not going to pick up for later. Unfortunately,
but it is the cube.
We can't do anything with that cube right now.
Yeah. It is a required item, however, so either Will needs to find the floater like faster than Serisan does, or we are going to be giving a ruby and a latte to that Titan today.
So it's going to be, I mean, pick your poison. Are you going to go Ice Cave to get that floater? Or is the floater going to be behind a fetch quest through TNT? Do you have the money for the TNT?
Mm. Will is probably going to end up with the money for the TNT here. And speaking of which, it looks like Serisan is doing a little bit more treasure checking to try and make sure he has all that money.
And that's unfortunate too, because Serisan going with the black belt, the entire idea behind that strategy is to find some place early to grind him up so that you can just not have to worry about checking chests. Once you're in go mode, you just fly on through, and right now he's having to do the opposite. He's having to check every single chest he comes to.
Yeah, and that's another thing that I've personally been thinking about these flags. That a lot of runners have been having a lot of success with black belt strats in this particular, in specifically the flag set for the pods races. I'm still not totally sure if black belt is going to be, sort of universally better than fighter in all cases, though, because there are some of these seeds where you are going to have to do a lot of chest diving, even to just find the incentive items that you need. And the more chests that you open, unless the Blursing like really decides to be mean to your swords, you have better and better chances of finding something really sweet for a fighter, like that Vorpal +3, which is completely nuts.
Well, that's kind of the benefit of these flag sets. So anytime you pair Blurst weapons and armor with having potentially Third Eye Grind or the B-side trap tiles we talked about earlier, it takes away any of the scariness of your weapons and armor rolling low or not being able to gain the levels. Anything that we can throw at these runners with these flags is instantly defeated by just grinding up a black belt. So it's a little bit of a safer move. You start to see more runners doing it here in these early races, and it works out too because you tend to find something you can grind on. But the way to counter that is doing exactly what Will's doing. Run a smaller party that will get comparable levels to what you're going to stop and grind to get, but they're going to do it along the way. So they're able to knock out exploration at the same time. So I think it's a very, very good part on Will's part as far as strategizing. Two-man party can work. The question is, will it work? Is he going to be able to get the gear needed before Serisan gets that black belt up to Bruce Lee levels and just starts punching through the seat?
Yeah. And unfortunately, Serisan is sort of coming at bingo on good grind spots so far, while Will is just coming up Millhouse again and again. He's gotten his... he's got basically all the spells he needs up to and even including Warp, and he's going to turn in this his crystal ball to see where it is, and the TNT turned it into the loot, so that is another required fetch quest.
He's about to pick up the bottle from the toy here, if I'm not mistaken. So that kind of points us right back over to Oxiel. So he could go back to Onrak and dive Sea Shrine. Sea Shrine is incentive. Lots and lots of chests on the right hand side if you go mermaids. He can kill a fiend and get an orb lid here if he really wanted to. I don't know if Kraken's the one I want to go after right away. But again, what about Ice Cave? Do you go Ice Cave now?
I actually don't know. The crazy hyper aggressive playmaker in me is saying, go make some calamari. But Ice would feel a little bit safer and a little bit more sort of in line with his level progression. Certainly, I don't think he would be in any like real danger in Ice Cave unless something just like rolled nuke or whatever. And there is always the danger in that just because of how many different enemy types are in ice. But on the other hand, the actual like enemy power level, unless everything in there rolled super duper high, is not all that bad, and he would still be able to get some levels as he goes in there without a whole lot of trouble. Oh, and looks like Will is doing a bit of a save here and is going to...
He's going to turn in the Ruby. So you know what, Space Drake, we're here on SpeedGaming 2. It's the 2021 Spring Tournament. It's a race between Willcleosis 1-0, undefeated, against Serisan 1-1. Let's ask the chat. If you're in both runner shoes, if you're Serisan, where are you going next? If you're Willcleosis, where are you going next? You turning in the Oxiel, you're going to go and dive Sea Shrine, get the incentive item? You're going to go Ice Cave. If you're Serisan, are you going to make your way over towards Waterfall? Are you going to do Ice Cave? Where do you go next? Let's see.
Okay, so Jericho is mentioning that he doesn't like Will's chances for beating Kraken at this level. I'm going to disagree, so long as that red mage does not get immediately punched out, because you've got fast level 2 and temper at level 4. Those have basically traded places compared to vanilla, and temper actually works in FFR. Like, you pump, especially with a Sun Sword +1 at like level 16 or so, you pump a fast and even a single temper into that fighter, and that fighter is going to be able to make some calamari pretty decently, even against a comparatively high-rolled Kraken.
So Willcleosis finds the cube from Sarda. That's not what he was wanting to see. I have to imagine It's Ice Cave next for him, but Serisan is already in the Ice Cave, and I think this is going to be the play that plays out. I think this is going to be the floater.
Serisan went into the Ice Cave, though, is trying to fight this this white dragon. However, the white dragon has rolled more than 300 HP. You never, ever like seeing that.
So Will's checking out. He picks up his Zeus 3 that Wout was clamoring for in chat earlier. Always good to see Wout here in chat. Willcleosis going back to... Oh, he's burning the encounter off, and he's going to go through. So I've got to think he's going back over to ice. I don't like seeing the health on that frost dragon. However, with Quad X, it might be doable.
Well, that was the thing. When a frost dragon is fresh, it's so high that it is not Quad Xable. You have to damage it first before it can even be Quad X'd.
So where to? Will still hasn't done Marsh though, and it looks like he's getting that calling to go Marsh. We know, unfortunately, this isn't going to lead to his progression. It's not the floater he's wanting to see. So Serisan here can really open up a lead because he is going to get the incentive out of here. Whether it's a fetch quest to the floater or whether it's the floater itself, we know it's got to lead that direction because we've already kind of crossed out everything else. Other than Waterfall, which he hasn't seen, but we know floater's not there. So.
Yeah, and this is starting to come up Serisan a little bit because Will he's almost certainly going to go like south first, yeah, but this is still going to mostly come up bingo for him, and Serisan has been a little bit behind Will like this whole time, but at this point, in terms of progression, the only thing Serisan is really missing. The only thing he picked up that Willcleosis didn't is that bottle, and so when Serisan gets this, he's going to only be like behind an Oxy Ale, and then hello, we just found the eye tile.
And when he does Waterfall, he has to walk it out because he doesn't have work. So Will's got a little bit bigger of a lead than I think you might be giving him credit for. There's damage poison from the werewolves paired with the fire 2 gray wolves, and that's going to be a reset for Will. So he has to dive himself back in. You can see that moment of hesitation there, where it's just not what about it just run into.
Yep. However, Serisan has found a fairly workable grind at this point.
It's an eye. It's a great tile. It's not so great when your black belt's only punching for 29 damage, and when you don't have enough key items yet to build up that XP boost that we were talking about earlier, 5% per key item. Something I would make a note of, but now's not the time to be doing this grind, I don't think.
Yeah. I was going to say, at the very least, I would find the item in here before coming back and maybe thinking about taking this.
Yeah.
Because there's a decent chance it's even on this floor. We have 8 chests to check down here. And then, like, 2 more just up the stairs. And the last 3 are just across the floor even. But I think, especially at 35 minutes, you find the first thing that even looks like a real grind at 35 minutes. I think Serisan does feel a little bit behind at this point.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you. At 35 minutes in, you're halfway over your way to an hour here. You're nowhere near lighting your first orb. Do you start to feel a little bit behind here? Do you feel like maybe this is going slower than you anticipated?
Especially with a BB, yeah, because especially given the way that I play, and things like my super early volcano dives and whatnot, which I would absolutely think about doing with fast and temper being as low as they are. At about 36 minutes, you want to feel like you're at least closing in on lighting a first orb or something. And right now, Serisan doesn't even have access to sea or sky or earth. He is still out a whole bunch of key items. He doesn't have his levels. He absolutely is going to feel behind at this point and is just going to jump on the very first grind he can possibly find.
Trenton points out in chat, Will immediately finds his key item and then puts that warp to good use. He's out of there before he can run into too many more things that have either deadly spells or death spells that we saw in there. You might have to help me out here, chat. There's a word for a move like that Will just did. It's what's it called? It's a move
Something with
that
a V.
yeah, I think it starts with a V. Somebody will say it here in just a second. They'll spark that memory. Serisan, however, is making his way through. Does know now that he has that eye grind. Is going back to the eye. Yeah, it looks like he's trying to kill him off. Now's the time for Serisan to sit down and just.
Chat's going ahead and saying, finally using the floor. I think there was a certain level of deliberateness to Serisan using the using up those quad X's though. He still wants some levels on like at least like the red mage and maybe the black mage. Like you still want some levels on your support casters even beyond what you pick up naturally.
So let's see. It looks like these eyes are going to be 2 roundable for now. He's got to get another 5 levels.
Those should be pretty easily like 1 roundable once he hits 21. And they also are just hitting for real piffle, so this is a pretty safe grind. I still don't agree with taking it now, but like we discussed, Serisan is almost certainly like feeling the burn at this point and just wants some kind of power level to get going here.
Here's what I don't like about this grind. I like the grind because if you're bringing a black belt, you're bringing it for this purpose. You find somewhere to plant your butt and to get your levels, and then just fly through the seed. The problem here, though, is he's down to the black belt. He has to sit here and grind to a level, I would say, at least 32, where that MDef comes into effect for that black belt, because he still has to check every chest in this dungeon. He's got 6 at the bottom left he's got to go through. He's got to walk himself out. If anything in here has crack, stone touch, anything deadly at all that a ribbon could save that he doesn't have,
he's going to lose this grind, and it's going to be basically be game for him. Yeah, like chat was talking about that, and I was also just thinking of that. This is a pretty risky grind, especially when you're down to like 65 or 64. You know, you're starting to bleed health pots here, and that's
it's not where you want this grind tile. You want this grind tile to be in like Northwest Castle with the easy exit.
Yeah.
Speaking of Ice Cave, though, Willcleosis has finally put the pieces together. He knows exactly where he needs to go now. So Will, despite not having a stationary grind, is still within range of those levels, but has done so much more exploration. Now, Serisan can turn this around. If he gets these levels and gets out safely with that floater, Serisan's going to make up so much ground with how much he's just able to punch things to death. It's not going to be fun.
Oh, yeah. And we're already at One Punch Man territory. As soon as he hit 21, it was off to the races. And, yeah.
So the levels are pouring in. He's now at 25. I got to imagine he's going to catch 32. I think typically the safe move is to get your black belt up to about 35, 36, and then throughout the rest of the seed, get those levels up to 42. I don't think you ever want to stop and do a grind all the way to 42. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
The question is, can he get out of here? Is this going to be a safe enough trek through Ice Cave to get the item and leave with it?
Meanwhile, Will finding out about the terribly durable frost dragons, but they don't slow him down too much. And he's also like, oh hey, big undead packs? How about light axe?
That light axe from the fighter, fire 2 from the red mage is going to clear this out pretty well. Serisan closing in on level 30 here. We're going to see where this grind stops at.
Yep. I do think he is going to go beyond 32 because he absolutely does need enough MDef and NHP to survive almost anything he'll find on this floor. And there's another reason that Willcleosis bounced off of the black belt, because that black belt has a plus strength blurse. And with the way black belt damage works, strength actually does nothing for them at all.
Nope, not unless they're wielding a weapon, which if you had a Mazmoon would be great, but but doesn't.
Nope. Black belts do gain strength on level up, but that is mostly cosmetic. Their unarmed damage is based on their level. And so the grind from Serisan is continuing here, and Will also finds that eye, pokes it in the eye, and says, "Hey, that's neat. That's probably where my opponent is grinding. I've got some chests to check. So I will see you later." Finds. And the adamant is right there. That could have been another 5% EXP for Serisan. And Will does not even bother with the trap tile. I'm surprised Will is bothering with the chests at all. But granted, you are right here. There's sort of no reason not to at least poke your nose in. I am also surprised that Will is bothering with these frost dragons at all. There are other places to get EXP if you're really looking for it. The idea is to grind as you go, but whenever I see evasive, strong, thick white dragons, I'm just like, nope. I can find plenty of EXP elsewhere. Like in a volcano, which I have to imagine Willcleosis is going to swing by now, because you've got the level 19 on the fighter. You've got the Sun Sword +1. You are absolutely in a position where you can just walk in and punch Carry in the face and not even worry that much about it. Well, Willcleosis is having a little bit of trouble coming to grips with the encounter table here.
Well, he's got the power reset on farm. He knows exactly what he needs to do to run the first one here. I think Will's a little bit excited now because he's going to put those pieces together. He knows the adamant's going to lead to more than likely floater. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking about this earlier. He's got the Vorpal 3. You know he's going to put that on the knight. Yeah. The red mage is going to, or the red wizard is going to pick up Sun +1. That's not a bad sword at all for the red wizard. And Will Bloodworth in chat pointed out earlier, Elfland has Saber available for the red wizard. In a worst case scenario, you could have the Samurai Red Wizard.
You absolutely could. I'm still a little surprised that Willcleosis is not going for the volcano there, because it's right there. Like, you
no reason to. No. You have to get in your canoe. You have to paddle your way all the way over there. It's not an incentive dungeon. He knows that the floater is going to be coming from this adamant turn after the crown, of course, is what I meant to say. No, the volcano is just so out of the way with the canoe, especially if you know that you're on the track of getting into the air. It makes sense to just fly that way later.
Meanwhile, Will opting to spare the Hooray Dwarf.
Oh, Cyrenus. I love that idea Cyrenus just put in chat. How about we just get a chime now, and we have to go all the way into sky to get the floater out of the incentive sky?
Mm-hmm. No, that's the reason I was sort of going for the or it could be the rod, and that's why I was mentioning the volcano play, because you say you've got to paddle for it a little bit, but you are not guaranteed to get a floater there. You can still find a floater potentially in let's see.
It's got to be in C.
Yep.
What was asking what's in C? The answer's floater, or what leads to the floater.
Yeah,
because
and
that's
now
the only
you've got
we have access
to. You've still got to do the sailing around to sea. And then you're going to have to go all the way down to pick up the airship, and you have to do that either way. But then you're going to have to go out of your way to go to. Now, I suppose that this could still be faster, but doing that step routing map in my head.
Could be chime and C, like chat's pointing out. But we do know that what it is it's going to be some sort of chain that leads to that floater, and I don't hate Will leaving Volcano behind. Right now, the idea is to hit up incentive locations. Serisan did that here in Ice. He also found his grind, just picks up his adamant. You just want to knock those out first, and then do things like Earth later, Volcano later. Try to skip, Marsh Cave if you can skip it. And
it looks like Serisan went all the way to. Did he go all the way to 42? He's getting 10 hits now.
think he did. He wants to be sure that he's going to be able to leave this place. And that might have been more of that defensive play that we were talking about.
Yeah.
Maybe you stop at 35, 36 in another seed, but since he knew he had to walk this out, it was probably more about the MDEF. So Will going over to C. I gotta think that he's going to go left first. I don't know if he already did or not. I'm too busy watching stuff inside, but Will typically goes left first to see if the key item's over there. But I know a lot of runners that there's just so many chests over towards mermaids.
Yeah, mathematically, like it's always nice to get that key item on your walk down to Kraken, especially in like a greed chest position. But mathematically, the odds are it's gonna be some turn into bubbles mermaids that are holding your key item here at sea. So
Serisan now at 42, out of the ice cave. He's hitting the nitrous oxide on the seed. Now he's just fly through. He does have a lot of catching up to do, but there's nothing that's going to.
This is still a race, especially if there's anything like super nasty in Topher, like if the Blaze Medusas have the Blaze Deathtouch Medusas have returned to haunt Willcleosis. Like
the benefit Serisan has now with those levels, and you just saw it, an entire screen of enemies is running.
Just rad. Yeah.
So you get a couple benefits when you get those higher levels, especially if your character's in the top slot. You get ambush less, you get more preemptive strikes, enemies are going to run from you. So if you run into something deadly like we saw 2 years ago, Serisan's not likely to see it, where Will, with lower levels, still might. Again, Will's levels are fine. Serisan just went to a ridiculous level early.
And meanwhile, that ridiculously level BB just punches the Hooray Dwarf's head off.
Oh, knocked him out of here. So he picks up his rod, Serisan does. I don't know that Earth Cave is where he exactly wants to go just yet.
No.
If he wants to just get that confidence under him and light an orb, sure, he could just fly right on through.
I'm kind of about that early volcano play, but with Earth, nah. You especially with a level 42 BB, you are looking for the rest of your go mode. You aren't even slowing down to like res people. You are just absolutely like putting the pedal all the way down and just going. I'm surprised. Oh, he's picking up some gold plus 2s with all the money he made. I don't hate this play because you are going to want to pick up your support casters at some point. I just wouldn't do it right now. But you do want gold 2s on them. That is a pretty good thing to have. Also, going ahead and taking the time to clean up his inventory a little bit. Not sure how much.
Will finds the metal slimes. Really, really good XP, but it looks like they were pretty beefy there, so he's just out of it.
Oh, I don't agree with this. You don't pick them up yet.
There's no reason not to. The black belt's got all the levels to carry. You might as well get spell charges for those mages.
But you have enough levels on the BB that you can pretty much always run from the stuff that you want to check right now. And anyway, I would have picked them up when it's time to dive a dungeon, but Serisan still has a couple of overworld checks to make.
Chat called it. Look at there. I'm sorry, not to interrupt you. There on the right side, Willcleosis does find the chime, the incentive item in C, on the left side of Sea Shrine. Does not have to dive mermaids, and now can step on it. He's going to go and fight his first fiend. We're going to get a fiend fight under an hour. Serisan, though, nowhere near close yet. Maybe a sea dive here if he escapes. We'll see where he goes outside of this inner sea. But
and that means that our floater now has to be either on slab or in the bottle, and the other one of those two turn-ins has to be the key.
Well, it can't be slab because you need the floater to get to Lefane. So we're almost guaranteed that something in Sky is going to lead us down the chain. Could be like an herb or something, and we pick up the floater from the prince. But as chat points out, it does guarantee us that this is a floaterless seed. We talked about that being a possibility earlier when the seed started, and who that benefited. Willcleosis having the slower starting party but ultimately the faster party that could level as they explored, versus Serisan that was going to start out faster potentially, and then have to stop and do the grind and then pick up that speed afterwards. So we're still kind of waiting to see how this is going to shake out. Right now, if I had to say, I think Will's got maybe a
advantage. Will.
Yeah.
It is at 100% advantage Will right now still, because
but the strat of Serisan here is that should Will run into any adversity, say it like a hard hitting Kraken 1, Serisan's not going to have any problem with Kraken. He's just going to fly right through it.
Yeah. Going with the invis here on Will's side, and I understand this, but I would still be a little tempted to try and hit the gas a little bit, because you've got that early fast, and you've got that early-ish temper, and
well, fast and temper are great, but if your character's eating dirt, they don't really do much good. So I think he's just playing a little bit safe here. When you kind of have to respect Kraken. Of all the fiends, right? Kraken's the one that probably scares you the most. Yeah, look at that. 7 hits. Oof. Without those Invis 2s,
that's with right now. That's 7 hits are with a multiple application of Invis 2, let's point out.
Oh, and the hold goes out on the red mage. So now it's all on that. It immediately comes back out, though. Temper up that fighter, and you're really hoping that Sun Sword can get it done. 6 hits for 109. That fighter's getting really, really low. We talked about this, too. The temper's going out. Quad X, can he get it under 300? Ineffective. Kraken's got a little bit more health. Swinging at the red mage. Sun Sword comes out again. 222. Do you check the... Yes. Quad X again. Sun Sword comes out. 95 damage. Quad X landing on Kraken. Erase. And terminated. So without those Invis 2s, though, that fighter's gone. So well played by Will on that one. Crab Cakes in chat calling for a 10% zap. Sure. She's better than everyone else. I guess I'll listen to what she says. So nice Quad X. He checked it early, and then he did a little bit more damage. He threw it out again. So now it's off to everyone's favorite location, Space Drake, and that is Sky, 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 Sky.
Sky, 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 gotta go to the sky.
Serisan picks up the Oxale from Montoya. You can see Serisan now starting to make up a little bit of ground. Mm-hmm. Nothing's holding it back now. It's just all exploration. The quicker he can get around the world and start turning things in, the more he's going to start biting at Will's heels.
Yep, and I would imagine his next play is going to be C. Like, there's basically nothing holding him back from just one punching Kraken into a big pile of sushi. As Will enters the Mirage Tower to start looking for an incentive item.
All right, so if you're Will here and you find, say, the incentive item on the first 2 floors of Mirage, do you still continue to check a couple of chests along the way in Sky, not only for the levels on the fights you're going to take along the way, but are you looking for a ribbon? Surely you have to be, right?
I've been giving some bad advice in this scene, but I'm not so sure you do, because you have a reasonably accessible wall on that red mage, but on the other hand, it does share a spell slot with your temper, so one ribbon probably would be handy, and if you're going to find it, it probably does have to be here, but on the other hand, it just doesn't feel great having to go dipping for a ribbon, especially at this stage of the game, and when you left mermaids behind, because that's also a whole bunch of chests where a ribbon could very easily be hiding. Not taking this Cerberus fight, I don't agree with that. That actually is a really good fight, especially for 2-man. They don't hit very hard. They have a major weakness to ice. Ooh, there's that Bane Sword +5 though.
I don't know that we quite care about what the blessing or curse is, but we all know what Will's done with Bane in the past.
Oh yeah.
Space Drake, there's one really important thing about this match that we have not brought up yet.
And that is probably the fact that whoever wins this fight, they are going to be punching their ticket into the bracket stage. I've been meaning to bring that up for a little while now.
Well, there's that, but there's also something lurking here in Sky that's not typical of a spring tournament race.
Ah, yes. So, sports fans, unlike a lot of other seeds, both of our runners have opted to set one of our spicy flags for this particular spring tournament set, and you have the option of making Warmech a forced encounter on the Bridge of Destiny. And so when Will goes up here to face Tia, he is going to have to fight Warmech, and it looks like he's like just straight up leaving Sky.
He knows where that's going to go, right? He knows that the herb is going to eventually lead to the floater. And again, to call out members of our chat here, Will Bloodworth, he said it earlier, Will wants to equip that dragon armor and that Vorpal ASAP. He's not going to fight that required Warmech without those two items.
Yeah, no, like this play, I actually, do ultimately agree with. Like, that herb is going to turn into a floater now because the seed has to be 100%able, and so the key has to be somewhere in those.
It's going to be the Fade.
Yeah,
it's got to be the Fade. So not quite a floaterless seed because the floater is going to lead us into the air. That lets us turn in this slab that I believe by process elimination is going to give us the key.
Yes.
So,
and then Bottle Fairy has to. No, the key could also be on Bottle Fairy.
Yeah, it could be there, but still floater required.
Yeah. No, you've got to turn in the herb first, there, Will.
Yeah, Will. I'm so sorry. You cannot fly with the herb. It's not that type of herb. You can get high, but you can't get that high, unfortunately.
Alas.
So let's turn that in first. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
You have to give the rich kid his dank nugs before you're able to fly yourself.
So you're turning in the herb here, but more importantly, this took maybe 2 or 3 minutes for Will. How fast is it going to take Serisan to knock out Kraken here?
One punch. I'm surprised he's even bothering with like support spells or like party reordering. Like, you have to respect Kraken in most cases, but not when you have a level 42 black belt.
Kraken knew that his days were numbered, so does what Kraken does: immediately back rows the white mage.
Yep.
Just to kind of like put the middle finger out there and say, you know what, I know it's coming, but you're going to lose a member 2 here. Takes out the white mage. Serisan one punches, just like you said. Willcleosis at the hour mark, though, has one orb and is flying. Serisan now with an orb. You're going to see really, really quickly, though, that it took an hour to get here. It's going to take maybe 15 minutes to get the rest of the way. We're going to see very, very, very soon.
Yes, and chat pointing out, especially DVS, that Serisan is not going to bother with a double dip. He is going to walk up to Warmech and dismantle it in like 2 turns at most, and is then just going to walk up to Tiamat and like throw her like straight out the space window.
So there's the class change that we knew Will was looking for. He immediately moves that Vorpal over, the sun down to the Red Wizard. Now he's got, again, a lot of people don't really care for the Vorpal because of the damage it puts out, but with crit, and especially a +3 modifier, very, very good sword for that knight. The sun goes down to the Red Wizard. Red Wizard can still be that damage carry if something happens to the knight if we need it. Yeah. We did see Saber at level 3. We've got Fast. We have Temper. We're looking pretty good there.
One thing I am wondering, though, does Will maybe take a hot half second to check both the slab and the bottle in order to maybe find a power bomb?
I think he does, considering you're going to be in that area anyways with the floater. Whichever one you check first, if it happens to give you your key, you're literally right there to just go ahead and get that power donk on a 2-man party. But again, it depends on levels. If Will picks up quite a few levels, maybe he doesn't care about that power bonk. He does have the Red Wizard to fast and temper him the whole time. Yeah. And these percentages in Spring Tournament are notoriously pretty low. It's more often the case that things are easier than harder. You don't really need the power bonk in this stage yet, but he'll take it.
Yeah.
So there's the quicker turn in. We said this just a second ago. The bottle's the quick one. Is it the key? If not, you head right down to Lethane. Check out some spells here. Not too many level 7s the Red Wizard can pick up, and I'm not sure what he's even looking for here for the Red Wizard.
He's looking for nuke, but he gets an unlearnable Fire 3, which is unfortunate. But yeah, no, Will is looking for nuke so that he can easily get those last few levels that he's looking for.
There's the Bane Sword for Serisan here as well. I don't think Serisan really cares about weapons or equipment at this point. Key items and go. Just go, go, go.
Yeah. Logically, there's that power bonk. And logically now, nuke has to be level 8, so that's kind of bad news for both of our runners, but it's especially bad news for Will, because he will not be getting that good sweeper.
Yeah, and I think with Serisan, he was kind of hoping for something like nuke or fade a little bit earlier. The black belt was obviously his go-to strategy, but you bring rainbow for that support in other areas. You want the early sweepers, you want something, and it just didn't quite work out for him that way.
Yeah. But we still have a race on our hands, because Serisan is now like full steam aheading straight to Tiamat, and we are only a minute or two out from Serisan taking that orb lead.
Serisan, though, still checking chests. I gotta think this is for ribbons, though, because you've got a 42 black belt. You just go, and at the 1 hour, 3 minute mark, just shy of 104, Willcleosis is the first member of our race here to hit go mode, and now you're going to see Will step on it. Trenton asking, did he forget he had the slab? No, Will just does this weird thing where when he's resetting off of a power cycle, he runs the opposite direction. I'm not quite sure why, but just what he does.
Yeah, but Serisan is actually still looking for the herb here, which he's about to find.
Ah, that's correct. I mistakenly thought he had found that earlier, so.
There it is. And now I'm almost certain he's going to charge. No. Ah, yes.
And now he's going to
it's the warp trick, and he is charging straight for Tiamat.
Question is now, greed chests or no? Do you even care about keeping the other mages alive?
No. Serisan has found what he knows to be his go mode, and like that herb has to turn into a floater that allows him to get the key, and he is. I'm surprised he's even bothering with the whiz vamps, to be honest.
So now
he is just
this is where the race is on now, right? Because Serisan's going to be able to turn this herb in, get the floater to key, and then go. So that lead that Will had is instantly starting to drop down. Will needs to step on it, and he's doing the opposite. He's checking chest right now. Every chest Will checks is Serisan gaining time on him right now.
Yes.
He has to go. He has to go right now.
Yeah, he finds an opal bracelet. That's great.
That's fantastic.
It's still not it's still not a dead fiend. It's still not a ribbon.
Yeah. Serisan's going to make up time on Will so quickly that it's. I would almost say that earlier we talked about who has the lead, Will or Serisan. I'd still lean towards Will, but it's. I mean, the needle's at like 52%, right?
Yeah, no, like this is a race, sports fans. Like this has just gotten really tense, and this is the sort of thing that we tune in for.
Especially if this war mech is hard to progress through, Serisan's not going to have any problems with it. If Will runs into a harder war mech that has, I don't know, Cure 4 or something, or nukes and nuclears off the bat, or crack that will eat right through no ribbon holders. If Will runs into any adversity, that's something Serisan's not going to see.
Because that black belt has a ribbon on it, in essence.
So here's your Force War Mech. It was an agreed upon flag. Hasta la vista, says War Mech. I think Serisan's going to be the one saying Hasta la vista here in just a moment, though.
Yep.
Down goes the red mage. But look at that. 10 hits. 5
Fast goes off, though. That's all you need.
Yep.
And you're just going to wait with the other two, and kaboom!
So if War Mech had anything deadly, anything surprising, we didn't see it.
Yep. And picking up that red mage and gonna heal it up a little bit as we get a bit of a screen freeze over there on Willcleosis' side.
Yeah, so what happened was Serisan punched War Mech so hard it froze Will's game.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
However, it looks like no. Oh, Will is not going to check the Red Dragon chest, but Will might technically get the. Serisan is going to kill Tiamat first because the bulls were jerks.
So we
leading off
had some fiends here, but I think Serisan's going to get through Tiamat well before Will even pulls. There it is. So Serisan takes the orb lead. Will's in go mode, Serisan's not. Serisan's got 2 orbs, Will has 1. I gotta say this is a push here, especially if something is deadly coming up in Sky. Slow coming out from Carry.
Yeah, Will is absolutely going to have to spend at least a little time on that war mech, and we are going to see how that shakes out.
He's going to treat it like the Kraken fight. He's going to be a little bit defensive. He's going to get the Invis 2s out. Then he has to fast. Then he has to temper. Then he has to swing. And I love the Vorpal, don't get me wrong, but a +3 Vorpal on a 24 Knight is not going to take out a war mech in 2 to 3 rounds like Serisan was able to do with the Black Belt. So advantage Serisan again. Now we start to see that Black Belt kind of kick into effect.
Yep. And of course, picking up that life 2 on the Knight for safety, that's a play I really agree with, because even though the Knight doesn't even have spell charges yet, you want to be ready to sweep in there with some life 2 in case things get hairy against that war mech that you know is coming up.
Right, so
meanwhile, we have lost Willcleosis again there pretty quickly as Serisan is making the moves to pick up that floater.
Serisan's going to be in the air sub 110. It's going to you look at what Serisan has left. It's the Volcano, it's Earth Cave as well. Yep. Still needs to pick up the key, which we know is in the Fane. This is going to take maybe 10 minutes. So you're looking at around a 120 Topher dive.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, the real question is, can Will keep up? Now the script is flipped. Now Will's chasing Serisan. Can Will burn through Earth Cave in 6 minutes? Can he turn around and get through? It's not even getting through Sky quickly. Can he get through Sky? Can he get through that war mech and then through that Tiamat? And if so, then it starts to become, can he get through Topher quicker than Serisan? The answer to that is no. Serisan's going to have a quicker.
Yeah, Serisan is just going to barely even care about Lich and Carry too, and there's a question mark, especially because with the additional EXP, Chad has pointed out that Black Belt has hit level 45. You're approaching the level where that Black Belt doesn't even need buffs in order to solo chaos.
Yeah, I think I'm sure I'm way off on this, but I believe it's 47 or 48, 46, 48, around that range, to where a Black Belt essentially is wearing a ribbon, and he's pretty much at that now. So at least that's one character that he knows is safe from most of those insta kills, and that's something that Will really has to watch out for. We've seen no ribbons yet. There is no safety on Will's side, and should that, let's say, Knight fall, or that if they both fall, that's a wipe out. Anything that resets Will's time, any kind of wipes in Topher, it's Serisan. It
absolutely becomes Serisan's game to completely lose. Although it already kind of feels like that, because we're hard charging straight to Carry, and we have that airship, we have that floater. Serisan's no reason to slow down for anything.
Serisan's making up too much ground right now to say that Will's. I think they pointed out in chat too, they corrected me, this looks like Serisan's game to lose, and every step that Will takes that's not towards a Fiend just adds to that time.
Yep.
But I gotta imagine he's looking for that ribbon. I think Will knows the danger of not having a ribbon, so he's actively looking for one. So again, point towards the Black Belt party, and we've seen it time and time again in the spring tournaments.
And Trenton is pointing out that if there had been any kind of real danger in Ice Cave that had caused Serisan to lose that grind, this would be a completely different ball game. But Serisan took that chance that the eye grind was going to be fairly safe after level to 21, and just rode, even with the lower number of key items, just rode that horse all the way to level 42, and it has paid off big time.
Yep. It worked out. He was able to get out. I think at this point we can all agree that this is Dang's fault. He rolled the seed. He rolled the seed that
Almost
mistakenly didn't have ribbons. I'm going to go ahead and call a ribbon on carry 2 floor, if not 2. I just don't know if either runner checks carry 2 at this point.
Yeah, I have to think at least one of those ribbons was up in the mermaids, and that's, and of course, like the incentive item was nowhere near there, and so you don't bother checking it at all. Willcleosis managing to light the Earth orb first, but he still has to do all of Sky, and Serisan is coming up on, his last orb here, and although he hasn't gotten his key yet.
Still has to
there is one potential misplay that Serisan could still do here. I'm starting to wonder if he forgot he doesn't have the key.
He also did Serisan check waterfall at all? Because if not, and he goes to waterfall to check for that. But he did.
Yeah, he was in waterfall.
I'll say he had to have to get his keys or the items he has now. So
yeah,
Serisan just needs to go to Lefane. Of course, he's probably going to check out Gaia first and get the power bonk, which again is going to work in his favor if he really wants to. Serisan right now, he's on a collision course with victory, and I just don't see how Will can keep up at this point.
It's really hard, yeah, and especially because he keeps taking fights. Like that thief luck on the red mage is really cool, but he hasn't made as much use of it as I think might have been wise.
So Serisan at the 1 hour, just shy of 14-minute mark, is about to light his 4th orb. Willcleosis is diving into Sky. He's already been through here. He's already found the key item, so it is just a straight run. However, he still has a Warmac to go through as well.
Yeah. And Ding was pointing out that you're taking fights because you need levels, but that becomes a bit of a paradox because the thief luck growth on the red mage requires some levels to get started. I wonder if Will kind of baited himself into the 2-man strat when he saw the thief luck, and that turned out to be a trap flag.
Could have been. Like I said earlier, that maybe a black mage would have been nice to have for the spells, considering black mage had plus 40 vitality. I just don't know any other character that you could throw into Will's party right now that would have made too much of a difference up against a plus 42 plus black belt. You know what I mean?
Oh, the Masa -5. Masa rolls -5. You hate to see it.
I just don't know why Will's checking chest. It's got to be for a ribbon. And I understand that. That's the play. You don't have a 42 black belt. You have to have a ribbon. But yeah, it feels bad. It feels really, really bad.
And Serisan remembering that he doesn't have a key, so he is going to get the power bonk, and then he is going to get the key in Lefane, also taking the opportunity to restock on heal potions.
Mm-hmm.
Something that terrified basically every observer and commentator in my own previous race against Serisan.
So Serisan picks up his bonk. That now tells him he just has to go straight south. He's going to pick up his key, just shy of about 116. With that 42 black belt, I'm going to say you're probably going to see maybe a 4.5-minute Topher. That's going to put Serisan around the 121, 122 mark to finish. Even if Will does fly through, Warmac does fly through Tiamat, I don't see a Topher going that quickly for him.
No, this is basically Serisan's race to lose at this point. The 2-man strat for Will just is not going to be as fast as this complete demolisher of a black belt. And yes, chat already had us covered, but Zardia was asking if Wall is available, and it is available for Willcleosis. The one wrinkle, though, is that it shares a spell slot with Temper. So Will wants to be a little conservative with the walling. He definitely doesn't have enough spell charges, even in the absolute best case, if he somehow got to 9 spell charges, to use a wall and a temper on every single boss in Temple of Fiends Revisited. So, well, first of all, at 117, pretty much on the nose, Serisan goes charging straight into Topher.
And look at Will. He's going to have a little bit of a struggle here with the Warmech. Warmech immediately going for that Red Wizard. Yeah. And Will's already struggling now to put out the damage. 353 coming out from Warmech. He's only doing 252 in response. The Invis 2, this could very well be a wipe, unfortunately for Will. So Serisan is just going to fly right through this Topher. 357 coming out. Down goes the fighters. Yeah, this is what we talked about, is that having that black belt allows you to just bypass any hurdles. So that Warmech that he 2-rounded will just wipe to and has to redive back in there.
Yeah,
so advantage completely over to Serisan.
This is Saracen's race to lose now. Like, there's no question whatsoever.
And that's the thing, is you can't say that Will didn't take levels along the way. He did. He took a lot of fights.
Like, he's level 24, 25 right now.
The problem is with the 2-man party, you kind of almost want to be closer to like level 30-ish.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of a 2-man party, is to just have absurd levels on those 2 characters.
And Will is actually having to go down to the I tile in order to grind. This feels real bad with a 2-man party.
It's a good adjustment. I know Will usually has a 3-strike rule. If he goes into an area and he wipes 3 times, he's out. He did it in the Green Medusas of Death seed that we saw 2 years ago. It looks like on this one he's playing a little bit safer than Sari. He knew that he stood no chance against that Warmech, so he immediately pivots. It's a good move. Unfortunately, it's probably not going to win him the race here today because Serisan is just a man on a mission. But...
Yep. Yeah, no, Serisan is just doing the death march down to chaos, and like it's anything that gets in his way that finds the death. I'm surprised he's even bothering with buffs at this point against these earlier fiends. Carrie wanting to do some fast strats too, I don't think it's going to matter much. Nope.
Well, it just comes down to just being sure. Like a black belt could punch out a carry 2 in 1 round. A black belt with fast will punch out a carry 2 in 1 round. So you've got the spell charges. Throw them out there. If turn order's in your favor, you've guaranteed a 1 round. It's just a faster method.
Yeah, and like that genie problem is commenting in chat right now. It's chaos that's hearing like boss music approaching.
Yeah, chaos should be scared. Again, I was saying that Serisan was going to fly through Topher. We're already on to Kraken 2, just shy of the 120-minute mark, or the 1 hour 20-minute mark. Kraken 2 is not going to pose any problem whatsoever. Even if it knocks out all the characters, you still have a 8 black belt at this point?
That's only a 45.
Oh, okay. Only a 40. Okay. It was only a 45? Okay. Well, then in that case, he's going to finish around 120 and a half. I'm sorry, 122 and a half, not 123.
And doing more than 2,000 damage to Kraken 2 there. Like, if Kraken had stuff, we didn't even get to see it.
I'm sorry, there was a Kraken?
There was, technically.
I didn't see it. Must
Pummeled
have forgot to
calamari.
So Tiamat 2 here for Serisan, as Willcleosis is making the move he thinks is the right move. It obviously is the right move for him. You were not going to get through that Warmech with these 2 characters. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I think we're probably about a minute and a half away from a GG here on the left-hand side of your screen. So everyone go ahead and get them ready. Queue them up.
Tiamat actually managing to stand up for more than 1 round to the level 45 BB and gets a Fire 3 out and does pretty decent damage to the mages. But
who's Tiamat? What Tiamat?
Yeah, ultimately it doesn't matter too much because those Fists of Fury come out and put Tiamat 2 down, and we are on to Chaos.
All right, Serisan. It's going to be a short fight, but go ahead and take this one here and give us a play-by-play for Serisan versus whoever this is in front of us.
All right, so getting the final boss spiel, and we're on to Chaos. Getting those up. almost mismenus a fast onto the white mage, which would be hilarious, and getting the Invis 2 out from the red mage. I don't hate that play because you still want to make sure that Chaos doesn't engage in too many too many shenanigans, like he does right there as he back rows the BB almost immediately. And so getting those Invis 2s out, getting a Kier 4 out on the black belt for absolute safety. Comes out swinging with Quad X, but the black mage with all that extra HP doesn't care, and Chaos rolled high on the HP, but I don't think it's going to matter much. Nope. And that is a dead Chaos, and with a official race time of 1:22:28, Serisan is your winner, and we are just getting a ton of GGs out there in chat.
Yeah, that is the benefit of that black belt. There is it just flies right through any seed. He found his grind. The grind was kind of in the middle of ice where you really don't want to see it, but I think that led to the safety. And Serisan's joined here in chat with us here, and we can ask him just a second of whether or not that grind was for the MDef of the higher levels. Serisan, is that the case? GG, by the way.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely the MDef. I was very scared about crack wolves as I was walking around, and I was tired of having that be a concern.
Yes, and with this, Serisan's pod races are done, and at 2-1, you are virtually guaranteed a spot in brackets, sir. So GG.
Thank you. I'm pretty excited about that. I was pretty worried about this matchup, honestly.
Yeah, no, Willcleosis is one of Final Fantasy Randomizer's sort of true OGs, if you will, and I think everyone was thinking he had the absolute potential to go ahead and 3-0 the entire pod, but with this, all hopes of that have been dashed, and Will is continuing to make his way back through the Flying Fortress complex and is going to finish the seed out for us. But in the meantime, I have a question, Serisan. So it seemed like you had a lot of trouble getting started. Like you were sort of casting about looking for key items, and not only, was it never the floater, but like it was often things that didn't seem to immediately help you out. Were you, especially by the time you got to that eye grind, were you starting to feel like a little bit behind and a little bit worried that Will was going to run away with the seed?
Absolutely, I was tilted out of time and space. The early magic was horrific. Having Quad X as the only reasonable spell for so long was terrible.
Yeah, well, we were commenting that the early magic actually favored Willcleosis because it was like all the support stuff that you want to see for a fighter, like level 2 fast, level 4 temper, the life and life 2 for safety, a little bit of heal 2 for making sure that you don't need to rely on potions to get through dungeons. Like, it was all seeming to come up Will, but you still managed to make it work, even though you were down to like having to try and like Quad X giants and whatnot early on for some like buffer levels.
Yeah, it was a very rough start, and I was a little bit annoyed, let's say, with some of the luck early on. I was really happy that it ended up being A-side tiles, and we could find the eye or the agama to cover all of that. And that was like when I went into ice finally. I was down to ice or waterfall, and I'm a never ice guy, and I didn't even have a warp charge yet, and I was like, this is questionable, but I've got enough potions. I mean, I've got enough cabins to get there because I didn't have money to buy better housing yet. Mm-hmm. And I hit the eye, and I'm like, oh, this is even better than its vanilla location. I got the free tile beneath it. Cool, let's go. Yeah. And it was swinging for, noodles. 10
damage, yeah, as an eye often does. And we are getting some Invis 2 strats from a knight for this particular fight. I hate
that. I think that's a good adjustment. I think Will knew Warmech is going to tear through him before he can tear through Warmack. So the defensive adjustment here is the right play, and that's the experience you see from Will as one of the better runners in the past of Final Fantasy, kind of applying that towards this race now. Yeah. I gotta think he's going to get through Warmack here. You're going to see Tiamat be no problem. I would expect we're going to see a Topher dive. We're more than likely less than 10 minutes out from a GG here for Willcleosis as well. Serisan, that Topher with a 40 blah 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 black belt should be no fear or concern at all, right?
So there's always fear, and you can see that because I kept swapping the black mage up front, right? I'm always going to respect the Fiend refights because I know that even a 40 whatever black belt can get punched down by Kraken. You know, there could be something bad that happens at Carry 2 or Tia 2. So I was giving them that amount of respect. You know, I'm going to make my black mage, you know, take the hit. He can get a life spell. And I don't know if you noticed this, I never actually went back to Elfland to pick up Life 2, or like any of the level 4 magic. I think it was, I had Ice 3, and that was it.
I can see at the very end that your White Mage's spell list was thin, let's say.
Yes. Honestly, I had hoped, and it never panned out, obviously, but I had hoped that something would stone that White Mage as a safety backup. You know, I love having the stoned White Mage with life that, you know, it's like, Kraken 2 is done. Now it's time to raise the rest of the party.
And just sort of like, you know, split open that White Mage. Well, I was going to say crack it open, but that has a sort of different connotation in FFR, I'd say.
Certainly.
We're close to starting up. The lid at the 128-minute mark. He's doing a little bit of shopping here. He's going to be diving in. Serisan, before we get into the call on Will, because we do want to give him the credit that he is due at this point here, you and I talked just a little bit before the race, and you had mentioned, you said, and I quote, that you're just going to play your own game. There's not a whole lot you can do with kind of the ambiguity of these spring tournament flags. When you got the spell list that you got early, and you got that black belt, and you're starting to uncover these key items, and you're doing the fetch quests, and they're not starting to pay off with that floater yet. What's going through your mind when you think you're running up against an opponent that you said that you had done a little bit of study on, who notoriously does a two-man party and does get those levels along the way? Was there any kind of doubt creeping in along the way of that maybe he's off to the races and I'm behind? Did you feel good with that black belt grind where it was? Like, what was your thought process throughout the seed from end to beginning there?
I mean, I would have loved to have seen that black belt grind about 15 minutes earlier than I did, but beyond that, I was sweating it. Like, the entire time through all of the end dungeons, everything. As I'm, on my charge to go get the key, I'm still worried about Will because,
you're expecting
the very capable
gun pop in at any second. Like,
absolutely. So I have, my game screen right in front of me, but above that I have another screen mounted to the wall, and I have the race room in there. So
yeah,
you're
just eyeballing that with like a sweat drop, like going down your forehead the whole time.
Absolutely, and yeah, I know that Will has a couple of other prepared party compositions. I kind of had guessed that he was going to stick with the fighter red mage. And honestly, the magic did really, like you said, it played out in his favor across the board. And
at least on paper it did.
Well, so here's the thing is that composition falls apart if it doesn't have life or life 2.
Yeah.
It is absolute paper if it has to absorb enough hits to have a man go down, right? So seeing both of them, I think, available for the Red Wizard, that's a little concerning. That said, I went into this knowing I'm gonna run Black Belt Rainbow. It is not a party composition I like. I notoriously hate white mages. So it's just, I knew, if I'm going to stand a chance, it's going to be on having a safe, consistent party, taking the early grind, standing off the characters as soon as the grind becomes apparent, and getting out with those levels. And if I can do that, I stand a chance, right? The forced war mech was actually something that we agreed to early on, and that was really like the key in. This is the black belt, you know? As much as I respect the knight.
Who approached you about that flag, by the way?
So I will say that I offered Will required war mech, 2-man forced, 1 melee, 1 mage. And he said no to the forced part. None of the 2-man forced was okay with him because he knew that I was trying to get in his head at that point. But he was okay with the required war mech. And so, you know, it's all part of the strategy, right? The game starts when you're scheduling and you come across these flag exceptions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was the approach I was taking there. And that really did cement, you know, what I was going to be doing. As long as the blurses didn't, you know, scream out something else.
And I think credit has to be given to the tournament organizers this year, because in spring tournaments of the past, they were a little bit more strict. Some of us always wanted to have the leeway to kind of change up some flags here or there. Nothing that would kind of morph it into something that was outside of the bounds of what spring tournament was going to be, but maybe like a forced war mech or like a forced party, and it wasn't always the case. So to have that flexibility this year, I think is starting to show, especially for the viewers, a little bit more of what this randomizer has to offer, and just a little bit of quirkiness from some of the runners. Like, obviously, you're coming into this, you know Will's a very established runner. Will notoriously does well against some of the harder hitters that he can study. He can't study you so much. Maybe that was a flaw in his plan here. Maybe he should have gone a little bit more kind of odd with you.
Meanwhile, it turns out that the squid did in fact have Nuke sitting in its spell list, which Sarah did not get to see at all, and that almost caused Will to wipe, but he managed to clutch it out with those Vorpal crits.
Well, he's still got life 2 on the knight, so...
Yep.
Not to mention with Saber on the Red Wizard swinging the Sun +1. If the Knight does go down, we still have Samurai Red Wizard that can bring the Knight back up. He's got a very safe party here at this point.
Yeah.
I'd say that with a party that has no ribbons, because we saw 0 ribbons all season.
Yeah, no, Chat was wondering, like, Trenton is wondering where the hell the ribbons even were. I'm thinking at least one of them has to be on Mermaids, because no one even bothered to check that, and for good reason.
I'll tell you right now, one was Mermaids, one was TFC, and one was Vanilla Mazza.
Yeah, clearly.
It's 3 adjacent chests and Mermaids, for sure. 100%.
So Temper's going out. He's going to put that Vorpal to good use. It's going to be 8 hits, 625. Down goes Tiamat. Willcleosis, just shy of 1 hour, 35-minute mark, is going to be moving his way onto the Ultimate Final Fiend Chaos. And I got to imagine he's probably going to buff up, probably take this out within about a minute or so.
Mm-hmm.
So Serisan, punched your ticket into the next round. What are your thoughts? Have you looked into the flags yet? Is anything going to change in your preparation, in your party composition, as Willcleosis does the patented, tried and true Falconic victory lap, which you just love to see?
So I'm going to tell you, I love the 6432 flags. Taking away the bridge is so wonderful. and forcing you to take canoe strats and, you know, work your way around the inner sea that way.
Potentially forcing you to use those strats. You could end up with like a bridge in the freaking Temple of Fiends chests or some other nonsense. But yeah, like the having to route around the Northwest Castle is going to make the routing a lot more interesting.
It's man mode. It's Willcleosis versus Chaos. Chaos has taken out the Red Wizard with Bane, which is Will's preferred spell. 10 hits, 493 from that mighty Vorpal +3. Chaos is swinging again. Will's going to swing the Vorpal. It's going to be 8 hits, 350. Just hold A and pray at this point. Here comes out another swing. 9 hits, 257. Down goes Chaos. Willcleosis punches his ticket on the seed. Official time of 1 hour, 36 minutes, 26 seconds, just shy of 8 minutes behind Serisan with that massive black belt party. Yep. Let's see if we can get Willcleosis in here. I know we have a race coming up here on SpeedGaming 2 here in about, I think they're getting ready in about 20 minutes, so we won't take too long, but we will get Will in here and we're going to see what he has to say about the race.
And we are joined by Willcleosis. GG to you, sir, but fortunately it didn't quite come up two-man this time around.
Yeah, I didn't have a black belt taking out an eye right in the middle of my way.
GG as well.
Hey, Serisan, congratulations, man. I know you were nervous. Ain't no nervous now. You throttled me, man. Congratulations. You earned it.
Well, you know, it's funny. I was thinking about it. The victory speech has to be, the infectious Willcleosis has been taken down by the Dr. Serisan.
The doctor takes it down. As soon as I saw the eye, I knew you were doing black belt. I already told you that.
Yeah.
I think that you felt you were in a corner with that. You aren't. But I knew that's what you're gonna do. I told you that. You knew that. Once I saw the eye, I knew it was in big trouble. And congratulations, well earned. I'm proud of you. That's I'm assuming this is a signature victory for you. I've had a few, and it's about time that I gave someone else something that, wow, I got this one, and you can look back on. I hope that you can, and I'm proud of you. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
I was going to ask there, Will, as soon as you saw that there was an extremely, that first time you were going through ice, as soon as you saw that extremely convenient eye tile, were you just saying to yourself, oh, crap, like, if Serisan is running black belt, I might be in a little bit of trouble here?
Knew I was sunk the second I walked into it. I knew I was in trouble. Considering the path that I had taken, the routing was very unfortunate for what it was that I chose to do. Mm-hmm. By the time I got there and seen that, I knew he had already been there, or was probably doing it right as I found it, more than likely. And I should have followed my instincts and gone back, because the Oxia was screaming at me. I should have done that. Decided to do the right thing, and that's why I was moving around. I was going to go do that. I didn't. Walked in the eye, and I pretty much knew it was game over at that time.
Yeah, well, it's especially funny because we were discussing early on, like, for the first 30 minutes or so, like, the magic and whatnot felt like it was coming up Millhouse for you. Like, it was everything a growing fighter two-man comp, like, really needs to get going, except for that big sweeper. So did you feel pretty good about the magic, or were you like, I didn't find New Grafade, I might be in a bit of trouble?
I'd get around it. I mean, you could see what I did getting the levels early off the giant.
Yeah.
Big quick one, so I knew I had to do that. I wanted to check the Earth Cave because I figured Serisan would go there first. Had I seen something like that, I would have done what Serisan, I knew what he was going to do. I would have done that at that point, and then attempted to shuttle through everything. But yeah, it came out good in the beginning. I was like, okay, life 2 in a night. Oh, life on a night. Great. Life 2 in a night. Okay, this is perfect. This is exactly what I want. And that's the worst time I've had in these flags. It's, and I got pounded. So hats off. It's all goes to the winner here, fans and everybody. He earned it. He's smiling right now, and he darn well earned it. Congratulations.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Willcleosis, first time caller, long time listener. Don't know if you know me.
Hey, buddy, how you doing? Thanks for coming out and doing this show, man.
No problem. I do have 2 questions for you here. Just the 2 off the top of my head. First off, 2-man party. We talked before the race. You said your practice seeds hadn't been really going too well with 2-man, kind of scared you off a little bit. Actually, I have 3 questions. I'm adding a 3rd question here. For one, was it the blessings that you saw before the race that led you to stick to the 2-man? Number 2, why did you not pick up a black mage that had the plus 40 vitality that could have given you some, I would say, options to Dan or not Dan earlier spells? And then 3rd question, you can answer them in any order you want. Towards the end of the game, you're in go mode. You're starting to light your orbs. We see you starting to check some out-of-the-way chests. I have to assume it's a ribbon. If not, what was it?
It's a ribbon. And was the second question? No, I was going 2-man the whole way. I mean, I considered going 3-man. I had. When I saw the bonuses, I was like, yeah, okay, this is my game. This is what we want. But I was with black belt vitality, I think, on the red. And I was like, this is what I've been practicing. I mean, and that's the worst time I've had. So, and it's going to happen. That was what was happening in the seeds that I told you about when we talked earlier this afternoon. when I considered it, but when I saw those bonuses, I'm like, nope, this is what I've been doing. Let's go with it.
Well, you made the adjustments. That war mech kind of a brick wall there for you. Didn't quite get the defensive spells out in time. I like that you made the adjustment. We said during the stream you typically have kind of a 3-strike rule. You bash your head 3 times and you're out. You did it 1 time. You hit that war mech, and something you saw immediately told you levels.
It was what I knew what my opponent was doing. So when I had the issues in Marsh Cave, I'm like, well, if Serisan went to Marsh Cave early and he got blizzarded and all that stuff, if he's stubborn, because I don't know if he is or not, and he keeps rolling in, he's got a low black belt, and he does this, then maybe that puts him on tilt a little bit, puts him a little bit behind. And so I thought about that. I'm like, well, I can make up a little bit of time here. Let's do this. But I knew that he'd hit that eye. I knew he had a black belt, and I knew I'd have to go do the same thing and hope. Hope that he didn't find any ribbons either. Maybe his party gets knocked out from a crack or something like that. And I don't know, Serisan, did you find any ribbons?
No, I didn't look terribly hard, though. What I will say is I took the black belt all the way to 42 on the eye because I was terrified of the crack wolves, so...
Crack wolves?
Yeah, like, I think it was the Gerwolves had crack or something like that.
Oh, I just reset out of those buggers. But I think I answered your question, Falconic. I have the 3 rule, but I didn't have any charges of Invis 2. I had class changed, I had done some stuff, so I figured I had at least 1 hit of it on the night. When I went to go use it, I didn't have any. So I was like, shoot, all right. So I was going to Invis 2, fast, Invis 2, but I didn't have any on the night, and it cost me. So I had to get those as well. It was a dual thing.
All right, so that puts Serisan at 2-1, punching your ticket into the next round. Will sitting at 1-1, and I believe you have a match, a destined match with Space Drake here in the comms. Do we have any idea when that's coming up?
That will be on Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time.
And can we look forward to anything spicy, interesting, special?
No more war mech for Will in the Vorpal round.
I was about to ask if the required war mech is now like solidly off the table.
It's off the table, buddy. We're gonna drop the gloves. We're gonna have a good time. I've got to know Space Drake, just recently. I certainly enjoy it. And whoever wins, wins. Whoever loses, loses. It doesn't matter. It's just he's sitting here having fun. We've been talking about this for years, and I'm having a good time. I don't care. If Space Drake takes me out, Space Drake, take it and run it. Take that ball and go with it if you can.
And you will be seeing some different custom sprites in the next race from me compared to the ones I've been using in the previous 2 seeds, including a couple of sprites that I don't believe I've used on any sort of quote-unquote official stream before. So you can look forward to that.
So that should be interesting. Can I make a suggestion for your race? And hear me out, because I just got done watching an old YouTube video that Willcleosis and Will Bloodworth commentated on. What if, and again, hear me out, what if double white, double black? Huh?
Thinking emoji.
Huh? No? Guys? Anyone? Chat? Double white mage, double black mage?
Oh yeah, go to the chat. That's a classic move.
Anyways. All right, let's go ahead and wrap this up here. We do have a Link to the Past race coming up here in about 20 minutes. It's going to be Adirondack Rick versus Fear Agent. But before we get to that, let's go ahead and go to our winner. Of course, you got to pay respects to the winner here, Serisan. Final thoughts on the race? Where do you see yourself going from here? Any adjustments going to the next round? What's going on?
I'm looking forward to the next round, and I've got to get back on the practice horse for the 64-32 flags. They're a blast. I really do enjoy those. GG, Will. It was a great match. I'm glad that we were able to get this into your schedule, get this taken care of, and that it was, good, clean game. I do want to say thank you to our commentators, Falconic and Space Drake, our fabulous tracker and restreamer, whose names I can't yet see on the overlay. But, thank you to everybody. Thank you to SpeedGaming for hosting us. If you have not yet joined the Discord and come join the community, please do so. FinalFantasyRandomizer.com.
Yep. And that would be, I believe, DVS on the restreaming, and it was
Also, Davis on the tracking. It looks like.
yes.
Thank you, Davis. Devious.
Well, no,
However you
it
choose
was
to say your
DVS
name.
on the tracking. I'm an idiot, and that was actually
Trenton. Thank you, Trenton.
I was Trenton on the restreaming.
So that takes us to the infectious one himself. Willcleosis, final thoughts. What did you think about the seed? What's next for you? How do you feel about going up against Space Drake? Are you going to punch your way into the next round? Just thoughts overall as we prepare ourselves for the greatest tournament of all 2021, the co-op tournament after this, right?
Oh, co-op. Fakana, you weren't supposed to tell him about the punching part.
Oh.
That was this little secret, but we'll get to that later. Maybe on Tuesday, we'll see. Yeah, thanks to SpeedGaming. SpeedGaming, anytime I am involved, I want to do with SpeedGaming. I really appreciate what they do. Trenton with the setup, all those great names in there, the Oasis, Adirondack, so many great names, Garbeau. And thank you to yourself, Fakana. Great to hear you, man, and Space Drake. Hope you liked what you saw, and you might be seeing it again real soon. Who knows? And thank
definitely
you.
Give me some food for thought.
Falconic, I don't know why I started this duckling training program, because I started this program 3 years ago with you, with Moist Mogwai. We trained him. Now they took me down. So they're doing a good job.
Yeah, you spawned some monsters here, bud.
Yeah, there's some monsters, and good for him. That's okay. You know what, SpeedGaming fans, I've been to the top of the mountain. I honestly feel that I have. I've done it all competitively, and everything's fine. It's cool. Congratulations, Serisan. Proud of you. And thank you for having me. Thank you to SpeedGaming. Thank you, Fakonic, and thank you, Space Drake.
Yeah, of course. Space Drake, it was an honor grabbing the booth with you here. It was our first time. We did get to see quite an amazing race here between the two. We saw the black belt strats. Went out yet again. I just have to say thank you to SpeedGaming for allowing us to be here. Thank you so much for DVS for tracking and for Trenton for taking care of the back end. I'm gonna let you sign us out here. Hopefully it's not my last time commentating for the spring tournament here, but I do need to start getting in some practice for a potential tournament coming up. Who knows? But it's all yours. Fix out.
All right. Well, this is Space Drake, and I have been joined by Falconic.
Yep.
And this has been Serisan versus Willcleosis on SpeedGaming 2. And from all of us at Final Fantasy Randomizer, we hope that you check out the rando if you haven't already. And we have a lot more action coming up for you, both today on SpeedGaming 1 and RPG Limit Break, and all throughout the rest of the week on any number of channels. This tournament is not over yet by a long shot, and we hope to see you again soon. See you, sports fans.